Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. I want to say thank you for, you know, having me here. The organizers of Code Blue, to Kana and her team, and to my very good friend um, Daiki, who actually I said is the culprit. Is the reason I'm here. I met Daiki in 2015 when we worked an international case together, and I finally had the opportunity to put a face, to the name. And the reason that case was successful is the reason I'm here to talk about the international collaboration, a tool for combating cybercrime. First, I'd like to take a survey. How many of us here know about mutual legal assistance or treaty, the MLAT treaty? If you know, can you just signify by raising your hand? Okay. Well, that's the formal way where a country can talk to another country and pass information and do investigation. That is the formal channel. But unfortunately, it's a very, very slow process. A lot of the time, it doesn't work, not because it's maybe different reasons, and it hasn't been very effective when it comes to cybercrime investigation. As we all know, cybercrime investigation is time bound. We're talking about IPs that are dynamic. We're talking about information that if it's not harnessed immediately, you might not be able to get it. The last speaker talked about servers. And how about a situation where the person who actually, after he made so much money out of the crime, takes off to a place where you can't find him? The end of the investigation, you're also unable to get the mastermind. So I'll take a quick rundown of my presentation. I take a second survey. How many of us has ever heard about the EFCC? Okay, just very small. So I'm going to talk about the EFCC, the agency I represent. I'll talk a bit about myself. And there's a notion that Nigeria has the monopoly of cybercrime or the business email compromise. So for that reason, I'm going to give you a rundown of a little history and some information you might need to know. I'll tell you about what the EFCC does, and I'll discuss some problems that we also have seen in the area of cybercrime investigation. I'll talk about the real meat of my presentation, which is collaboration, an instance of what collaboration was able to achieve, and then I'll run through and finish up my presentation. Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, was born in 2003 because of the same reasons you have been talking about. Why are a lot of cybercrime activities coming out of Nigeria? And to that effect, this agency, the EFCC, is empowered to investigate and prosecute all economic and financial crimes. We're federal law enforcement agency, just like the Nigerian police force, but our purview is streamlined to, economic and financial crimes, matters. And we received complaints from, different quotas. We have a website where you can send, complaints. You can channel your complaints to directly. We also have, the situation whereby people who are within Nigeria can do us a formal petition and drop at any of our offices. And to that effect, we also enforce anything that has to do with economic and financial crimes related matters. Our offices are 11. We're pretty very small across the entire country of Nigeria. You might not have an idea of what I'm talking about. We're policing nearly 200 million people. I know of the population of Japan to be about 120 something million. So Japan is almost about the half of Nigeria. So you're imagining, a police formation that is pretty small and tasked with a lot of, you know, uh, job to do in terms of combating this serious menace. And I shall be talking about another thing we do again is partnering with local and foreign law enforcement agencies. And that's why I'll take my third survey. Are you a police officer in Japan? Can I just see your hand up? Police officer or a law enforcement person in Japan? Okay. Maybe at the end of my presentation, I'll be happy to have friends with the law enforcement people in Japan. It's pretty important to us. It's part of what we do in order to achieve successes. Now, these are the offices we have. Like I said, there are 11. We have the headquarters office in the Federal Capital Territory, which is Abuja. We have the next big office, which is in Lagos, a metropolitan state towards the southwest of Nigeria. It's about the the action sport of my agency, and that's where I work out from. A bit about myself. I have a background in computer science, and I've been with the agency since 2009 to date, and worked many cases, local and international. I've also had background in digital forensics, and just before I left, I was heading the digital forensics lab in Lagos office. But at the moment, I'm studying in Harlem University in South Korea. So I'm actually your neighbor, just 2 hours away. And there I'm doing my master's program. Very good. A bit of history, like I said. Africa, a lot of people ask, is Africa a country? No, Africa is a continent. Africa has consists of about 54 countries, and it has a very large population, 1.2 billion people, and has a lot of history, like I've written there. Very importantly, Africa has the African Union, and something that is unique about Africa is that we got colonized by maybe the West, Europe, and all that. So whichever country colonized you, that's the language that is predominantly spoken. So Nigeria was colonized by the English, so we speak predominantly English. You have Arabic, you have Portuguese, you have French, as the case may be. If you look at Africa, it's divided into sub-regions. You have the North Africa, you have the Southern Africa, you have the Eastern Africa. Nigeria is found in the Western Africa. You have the Middle Africa, and it's a pretty interesting history if you can find time to go through it. Like I said, Nigeria is found in the Western Africa, and it's actually the most populated country in Africa. An overview of Nigeria, that's Nigeria there. You have a land mass of 923, about that, kilometers. You have a population of 195 million. That's been conservative. We're about 200 million. We have a large usage of the internet, and about 77% of our banks and financial institutions run on the internet. Like I said, in terms of internet penetration, you have Nigeria topping in the region there about that. And that's about that was a record of 2014.
2014年の数字
It grew to 80 million users. So you have an idea why you have a lot of users that have access to the internet and are able to do so many things on the internet. In fact, the population of the internet users alone is even over some countries. Like Korea has a population of, I think about 14 million or thereabout. The state, Lagos, where I'm working from, has a population of 22 million people. So that state alone is bigger than a country. So you can expect a lot of internet activities coming out of Nigeria. The history of the internet fraud in Nigeria and what the EFCC has been able to carry out since its birth is that internet fraud actually dated back into the 1980s, and it started very traditional, where it was then known as doubling of money. Um, Local, you know, parlance is called wash wash. Means somebody will tell you, show you some sort of chemical, and he quickly does it. You don't even know. He puts it in the chemical, then brings out a dollar bill and tells you, if you can pay some money, I will double the money for you, and all will be yours. So people reached out to go and get monies from their families. Don't worry, borrow me money. The moment by tomorrow, I'll give you your money back. So that was how, it started gradually. And it progressed in the early 2000s to skills of social engineering, where they go online and you see romance scam, where they begin to reach out to people online. You hear of inheritance scam, someone telling you, I have a very big asset somewhere. All I just need you to do is to send me some money, and I will, you know, clear the inheritance, and I'll give you a percentage. I could even give you an interest. And that was working. Like I said, romance scam, you have people who maybe lonely and or have relationships that have been broken, and then they reach out to this kind of category of people, and then they fall for the scam. Sometimes they impersonate military personnel and you know lover people, and then they reach out to vulnerable people and take advantage of them. Some could be contract scam, and some could be job scam. So these things were what we're observing in the early 2000s. It moved on to the kind of scheme we see in 2010 and thereabout, became more sophisticated, where you have the use of, more technical skills like DDoS attack, worms, viruses, and, defacement of websites was predominant about that time. And then they could get some tools off the shelf, already developed tools that they could just get at almost no cost to deploy through the dark web. So these were the trends we're seeing. Nigeria particularly, what the trend we observed, the real bedline of it was for financial purposes. They just wanted to make money, with a lot of excuses. Some tell you they because we're poor. Oh yeah, and that's where I'm also from. And some tell you we don't have parents who can take care of us. Well, yours is even better. I also lost my father too. So you see, there's really the real essence of it is for financial benefits. We saw different categories of this crime. Some people acted all by themselves. That was what we saw. But others acted in a group. They had a more organized group where they were well structured. The person on top is the chairman, or the Oga, as it is called, and he breaks the task down. Some people bring in the the vulnerable people, and then some people could take over and do the attacks. So we saw all of this kind of structures. Then the business email compromise came in, where we saw in 2015, which was about the peak of it all, also known as CEO fraud, man in the middle attack, was also very predominant too. Uh, these are the kinds of schemes we saw. Sorry, I'll go back a bit. We saw, the use of keyloggers, and some of us may be aware of that, spear phishing, use of Trojan viruses, Trojan and malwares were also predominant. These were the kind of things we're seeing. I took this survey from Trend Micro. Pretty very much what we were seeing progressed up onto that time, where we saw a lot of activities coming out, just the trend as we were seeing it. And then between 2012 and 2018, we saw, like I just explained. Now, what is the position of the Nigerian state in response to cybercrime? In 2015, they passed the bill called the Cybercrime Act, and this was very much tailored, a tool we have that is very, very much tailored to the current crimes we see in cybercrime. So it is punishable. So anyone caught committing cybercrime, home or abroad, is culpable and is punished for it. So the Nigerian community is completely against cybercrime. Two, we have the Advanced Free Fraud Act, and that act too also penalizes anybody who is even aiding and abetting cybercrime. So it's not enough that you claim your activities. You need to do much more to show that you did not support the action of cybercrime. So in Nigeria, it is seriously frowned at, and the Establishment Act of the Economic and Financial Crimes is also very, very important, a tool. And with that, we've been able to achieve a lot of activities in terms of combating cybercrime. So basically, we cause investigation, we arrest the perpetrators, we prosecute them. That's our main goal and our joy. We Importantly, we restitute whatever assets that are traceable to the offense that has been committed. We restitute to the victims. Now, I put federation there because besides cybercrime, there are other things that the EFCC does, in white-collar crimes that the EFCC does, including corruption cases and all of that. So basically, that we do a lot of that too. So if you have corrupt officials who took government funds, those funds will be repatriated back, refunded back to the federal government. So that's what the EFCC does. In 2015, that's a record of the executive chairman, trying to, let's say, was published. There was a return of money to a Polish victim who lost money, and several others. There's so many of them. I just picked one out of them. Now, to the problem of cybercrime, particularly BEC, the agency called the Federal Bureau of Investigation of the United States recorded in 2017 from what they receive as reports of losses in cybercrime, and it was $675 million US. I say that's just the FBI. We've not talked about what Asia records in terms of losses to cybercrime. There's a report there, and that's in 2018 August, of sharp rise in business email compromise. The point again is that it is not going down. Why is it not going down? Because this business brings in a lot of money, almost at no risk. If you're whatever job you are doing currently, there are risks, and yet you do them because you get some benefits. Now, these guys do this thing with a lot of motivation. So the point again is that if you are looking at, cybercrime going down, sorry, you'll be disappointed. If you are thinking the trend will go down because we're here in a conference, I'm sorry to tell you that these guys make 12.5 billion in scam in income, and then you tell them to go away. Nichols spoke about a tweet where he said, "I can face the feds." Yes, because if whatever term he serves and he has this as a backup plan, is a good investment, I tell you. So for us in this community, have this at the back of your mind that we're up against something that is pretty very tall. And what is the best way to work at it and bring it to a halt? Well, reduce it largely. So, like I said, it's very, very, unreported. Like all these records, they have to show for it. Trend Micro again says the business email compromise is on the rise. Everywhere it is on the rise. So what the losses cuts across every continent. So if you're thinking that maybe the losses are just for victims from US, you may be very disappointed that you may have losses too recorded here too in Japan, and maybe any other Asian country or country where you come from. What problem do we see again, as a reason why we are unable to achieve very much, is that we work, in silos. You work as an individual. You are self-sufficient, and unfortunately, our laws haven't helped us very much. Our laws are more centered on, your country, and you know, pretty much selfish. So it hasn't helped us. So you have somebody working cybercrime, he's just there all by himself. Even in the same country, you have different agencies. They just don't talk to each other. It's a lot of problem. Not to even talk about them communicating with other stakeholders like the private sector and the academia. So the working in silos is a big problem, huge problem that, you know, at the end of a conference like this, the complimentary card you get to exchange with someone, or you receive some from someone, shouldn't just end, like another paper in your shelf. But let's work it out. Let's put it to use. Talk to someone. Let him talk to you. Share information, and we will be able to do more. Walls of jurisdiction, like I said, the laws are just, there's really nothing you can do about it. Maybe none of us was introduced as a legislature in his country, of course, because those are the lawmakers, and if you are not a lawmaker, then the truth is that there's nothing you can do about changing the law. So if there's nothing you can do about changing the law, then how can we work together, you know, to get this job done? If you were a law enforcement person, you just like Nicole talked again, she said you are the last, line of defense. You are expected, whatever intelligence the private sectors gather, it's you it's transmitted to. Now, how about when this crime happens beyond your border? Do you also have powers to execute the strength of your country? Are you able to carry it beyond Japan or carry it beyond any other country? Not at all. So if we have laws that allows only for MLAT, which takes almost forever to achieve, the point I'm driving at is that there's another channel by which we can walk, and that channel is what I'm proposing, which is, we all know, working together. So working together will help us to achieve, even when these walls of our laws are there and there's nothing you can do about that. We have low information sharing, like I said, we hardly talk to each other. And Nicole just said mostly what I wanted to say. You have the law enforcement people knowing next to nothing. Like I said, in 2003, it was the birth of the EFCC. The more traditional police people did not know very much about investigating, cybercrime. And even it still is the situation even up until date, until younger people came into the system. It was pretty, and it is still very difficult for them to understand what an IP is. I had a friend who told me that he was taught how to write in 1, 2, 3, that's numbers, and ABC for the English-speaking people. And now they combine things together and then confuse him. So he doesn't like sciences. So there are so many people who are out there too, who get confused when you're talking about IP. Oh Lord, what is this? I prefer to do, murder cases. I prefer to do robbery cases. They are saying things that are practically not understandable. We also have criminals who we always forget they also understand the laws. Criminals know that this country doesn't talk to this country. So they know where to position themselves. They know where to channel, monies to. And then, they are waiting for the feds to take all forever to talk, which will happen, which will not happen. So criminals also understand the law you're also holding. They know the weaknesses of these laws, and they have been able to take advantage. Don't forget, they are intelligent people too. Yes, maybe they make mistakes. That's why we get to catch them. But they're pretty much good at what they're doing. That's why they've been able to go so far. The use of VPNs also obscures from seeing very much, and has been part of the challenge that we have also noticed. Safe havens, that's one very important aspect of the challenge I want to talk about. Their destination countries. If you tell me that these crimes originate from Nigeria, So how come the monies move to some part of Asia, to some countries in Asia? The monies move to some countries in the Middle East before it gets. So it means that they have people like them in these countries. So if these monies get to your country, what do you do about it? Do you do next to nothing? Are you willing to work with another person who is saying there was a loss of money from this country and has moved to your country? The moment they know that whatever country it is no longer a safe haven for financial, monies moving to, yes, or if you open a bank account and then you aid the movement of that money to another person, you become liable. It becomes, we begin to clamp down more on their activities. What's the way forward? Strongly collaboration. Commitments from countries that are, strong to work with countries that are, less strong in terms of resources, in terms of technological wise. From what we observe, these guys, when they talk online, sometimes they don't even know who they're talking to, but there's a lot of trust amongst them. They're talking, they say, who can tell me how I can hack into a bank without being noticed? You begin to see inputs from different, people on their forum, how you can quickly do it without being noticed. You see better and more innovative ways of achieving it. But unfortunately, we, the good guys, are unable to talk, we're unable to share ideas, we're unable to support each other. So the way forward is collaboration. Now I talk about the instance of the initiative we had with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We work with them a lot. Um, early this year, they came with an initiative called the Wire Initiative. They wanted to do a joint operation with the EFCC. They also informed us that a lot of countries are also part of this operation, and the takedown was going to be simultaneous. And like usual, we were happy at that, and we jumped at it to work with them. So they sent the agents down with a lot of information. The EFCC went out, did surveillance. These are the countries that are involved. We have the United States there, you have Canada there, you have Poland, you have Malaysia, you have Mauritius, you have Indonesia, and of course you have Nigeria. So the point again is that all the BEC cases you see are not all settling in Nigeria. There are other countries too where it happens. Nobody's really proud of it, but that's the reality we have on our hands. So we had this joint operations with the FBI. We gathered intelligence, went out for the operation, and 29 of them at the instance in June were arrested and very much awaiting prosecution. And afterwards, the operation has been ongoing. Even when I left home, the operation has been ongoing, and more people have been arrested. Like I said, these were multiple countries that were involved. That's a cross-section of the guys that we arrested at the time. So these are actions that we're very interested in carrying out. It was publicized. It was in the media everywhere. FBI arrests 74 in Nigeria, US, other places. In the body, you see that the EFCC was also mentioned as part of what, our contribution. And that's why we're very much interested in working with, law enforcement agents around the world. There's a guy in the middle there. I think he looks like somebody I know. Yeah, we work together on that. Now, what did we learn? First, there was a message that we sent out to these fraudsters, these criminals, that these countries are not countries that are safe for you, even if you get to run out of Nigeria. Even if you get to such countries, you are not also safe there. It's a message of deterrence that we sent. Second lesson we learned is that it is possible to work together. Even if you are from any country, it is possible to work with, like I said, the MLAT is a pretty very long process. If we can work together, and the EFCC is foremost in its interest to work with any law enforcement agency from any country. We also saw that, communicating police to police was beautiful. There was a lot of information sharing. In the course of investigation, we gathered more information from them, And I like to say, at a point, I even got to meet the guys, the public, private sector guys who also provided the information to the FBI, and we're all very happy. It produces a lot of result and it's pretty very lasting. And like I said, there are other law enforcement agencies that are interested in working with the EFCC. And on that note, I'd like to say a very big thank you. And if there are questions, I will be happy to take them.